Yankees to the World Series. Boom, a hero in Game 7.
Clemens has set a major league record for strikeouts in a game.
Derek Jeter with one of the most unbelievable plays you will ever see by a shortstop. Red Sox fans have longed to hear it. The Boston Red Sox are world champions.
Welcome back to Fanbase, a deep dive into the greatest rivalry in sports. John Senecal here, along with Brian Shackman. And the Yankees Red Sox are finally going to square off at the end of the season now, and it don't mean nothing.
Nothing. It means we've known all year that this rivalry is sort of taking a pause, not only because it's a 60-game season and there's a lot of fans out there who don't care, but also because the Yankees are so much better than the Red Sox. But it's funny, we go into this series with the Yankees.
They weren't that good a week ago. Our last episode was they were a mess.
They were behind Toronto and Baltimore.
Baltimore was sniffing on their back door or tied with them or something.
So they've won. I don't want to date us here, but they've basically gone on a really huge winning streak. And what I'm curious about, since I don't watch the Yankees unless they're playing the Red Sox, is what the heck happened.
Gleyber started hitting. Voit has been hitting. Debbie Garcia has been pitching good. Cole is pitching good. The Red Devil, man, like you said, you can't kill him.
Yeah, kill him.
He just keeps coming back. And home runs, the Bronx Bombers are back. They're hitting home runs again. And now Judge is back, who struck out 3 times last night. And Stanton's back. But every time they run down the bases, I grimace a little bit.
I know, they could be, at any moment, their season could be over.
But they're striding good right now.
And they have all those guys in there, and it gets pitches. Like, who was the catcher who hit 3 home runs this week?
Higashioka.
You can say it? Can you say it?
Higashioka.
Okay.
He's the GOAT.
It was Higashioka with the stroker, is what Sterling said, which I thought was pretty good. I don't like Sterling at all.
He does have some nice calls.
But some of them are pretty good. But my point is that like a guy like that probably saw a couple better pitches than he would normally if you didn't have Stanton and Judge.
It's crazy, though. Yeah, exactly. But 33 runs in the last 2 games against the Blue Jays. Their pitching hasn't been great, obviously, but 33 runs in 2 days.
So I guess the question is, now they're definitely going to make the postseason.
They should. They're a 5 seed right now. They were an 8 seed when we talked last.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, barring any catastrophic meltdown, if they just play normal baseball, yes.
Okay, so assume they get in there and assume they stay at 4 or 5 or whatever. How do you sort of handicap their chances against a Tampa, an Oakland, or whomever?
Yeah, look, I think it looks like they'd be going up against Minnesota right now, but there's still 11 and 12 games to play. So, this is the way I look at it. Baseball's streaky, right? And they're streaking good right now. Can they keep that going for 12 more games? Maybe that helps them because they need Judge and they need Stanton if they're going to play to get more at bats, and then they'll go into this postseason good. But I've said it all along. If they're healthy, they can beat anybody. If they're healthy, because if their pitching kind of falters, you can see what they can do with their bats.
Right, and the thing about getting hot is funny because I would say that if this is their run, they're peaking a little too early.
Right.
And so what they have, maybe 10 games left in the season, and then they have to win a slew of games to win.
With no off days.
Right.
That came as a shock to some people.
Yeah, but I mean, that's how it's got to be. And I mean, forget about the fact that, I'm discounting the value of this World Series, but if your goal is to win it, I think I'd say 2 things. One is it's not a good time to peak because you'd rather lose a couple and win a couple to finish the season.
Right.
However, I think it's really good for Judge and Stanton to come back now because they can work out all the cobwebs.
Exactly.
And
they got a few games. You could tell Judge was rusty last night. You could tell. What are they facing down at their alternate site in Scranton? You know what I mean?
Right.
They're not facing major league pitchers that are going to be gunning after you. It's a totally different ballgame, obviously, but. Let's hope so. I hope so because, Red Devil moves to left.
Right.
Chicks is in center. And Judge is in right. And Stanton's your DH. And
it's a heck of a lineup.
Yeah, and DJ is just doing DJ things. He's been doing it all year. He's amazing. He's just amazing.
So it's funny you talk about the alternate site because in some ways for the Red Sox, that's where some of the only interesting things happening. So for the Red Sox, there's no chance. If it weren't for the Pittsburgh Pirates, they'd have the most losses in the entire major leagues, which is an embarrassment. And we've talked too many times about how good teams, good franchises should never be where the Red Sox are. I'm not going to go do that again. But what I'm going to say is so Tanner Houck gets called up from the alternate site or whatever and comes up and...
Where is their alternate site?
It's in Pawtucket still, I think, and because they're there until next year where they go to Worcester. But he goes and he pitched 5 innings, got a win. But that was the first thing. Like the sports writers could talk about a kid who's in his dream to make his major league debut, and the kid. Basically, the story is he makes his major league debut, and he doesn't care. It doesn't matter to him on several levels if there's fans
He's
or
just
whatever.
happy to be there.
He gets the pitch in the bigs, which he'll always have for the rest of his life. I don't care. People who are listening and watching, making the highest level of a sport is incredibly difficult.
Insanely difficult.
And so he gets to make his debut, and it's a story that you can feel good about. And also for his future, he gets to start his service time, which I think is hugely important for his financial future. So those little things, it's a good story to wrap your arms around. Hopefully he does well, and they handle him well. And then you get, in terms of the roster, I mean, outside of Alex Verdugo,
not much.
There isn't much to talk about, and so Verdugo is great because I don't know if you saw it recently. I think he had 3 hits and he went up at the bat and he got squeezed on a 3rd strike and got called out. And he was clearly correct. It was not a strike. It was a ball.
Right.
And he was mad. And I'd like to see that because he already had 3 hits. The game was, who cares about the game? Because they're losing. Yeah. They have no, and the fact that he competed like that late in the game, and sure, maybe it's selfish because he wants to get hits or walks, but the bottom line is that he cares. It's a cue as to whether he cares.
Yes, he's passionate. But I mean, it could be a frustration too, because if you've been watching any baseball this year, the umpires have gone back to the old school where they're really starting to call stuff way off the plate.
I don't mind. Okay, let's talk about that for a second because, in the old Atlanta Braves days with Glavine and
it started here and end here.
No, but they would just they just squeezed everybody so much, and they would paint the corners. And I feel like Nita Chest is okay. I feel like.
But it's crazy though because we're so used to watching the K zone or the box or whatever they want to call it, right? And I'm noticing that, I'll flip around. I have the MLB TV thing, so I flip around. And a lot of places aren't using that because it's really showing the umpires are really stretching.
Do you think they're getting a message sent down?
No, I think they're doing it because they know they're not going to get argued with. It's COVID. I think they're just screw it, call what you want. They can't argue with us.
Have the announcers said the same thing?
I don't know. I haven't. None. So I haven't heard any Yankee announcers or any other announcers say it.
That's interesting. So
that's my take.
Your theory is that the umpires are feeling their oats because.
They can't argue.
No one's going to get in their face.
Nope. I mean, think about it. All right, Verdugo's, I didn't see it, but Verdugo's call you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
If it was non-COVID, don't you think he would be even more animated?
And get in his face, maybe?
Yes.
Or maybe even the manager.
Right.
I mean,
there's none of that this year. I mean, as soon as someone starts chirping from the dugout, they'll turn around and be like, that's enough.
Right.
That's enough. And so that's my take. That's what I think is happening.
So there's 2 things I would say to that. One is, I think a bigger strike zone is okay.
I do too.
I think that the pitchers have had too much taken away from them. And my biggest pet peeve in baseball, and it's hard because you throw 95, going inside is a threat, right? It is a direct threat to your livelihood. At the same time, these guys hang over the plate like they have nothing to fear.
Right on top of the plate.
And I hate that. I really think that the old days of being able to brush somebody back or what have you need to return because you need that inside corner. You need to be able to use it as a pitcher.
And nowadays, a ball 4 inches in, a guy's falling on his back.
Right. But that shouldn't be the case.
No, it shouldn't be the case.
20 years ago, if you threw 92, you threw heat. If you throw 92 today, you're borderline kind of slow.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that it's gotten faster.
As long as you can
generally, you can still get killed by 92 as much as you can get killed by 96.
But there's more faster pitchers nowadays. There is. I mean, but you didn't see the 100-mile-an-hour fireballers, but it seems like every team now has a dude that can get 98 to 100.
Right.
And it's not just their closer. I mean, Cole was hitting 99 last night.
That's incredible. So I remember I used to do I had a couple opportunities to take a little BP off a machine at Fenway, and we're talking 60s, low 70s.
Yeah.
And I struggled. I mean, I can't imagine. I don't know how they do it. I mean, it's all sort of guesswork. I mean,
a lot of guesswork.
That's where this home run strikeout relationship has become. Because if something's coming at you 95,
it'd be nice if we could talk to a major leaguer, a former major leaguer or a major leaguer, and ask them that question.
Well, we're going to do that. Actually.
We are going to do that.
It's going to be. I don't know if it's the next episode or the one after, but we're going to talk with Rico Brogna. I always think of him as a Met and a Philly. But the interesting thing about him...
He played 43 games with the Sox.
He did, and he did not do well. He wasn't healthy, but he did something. He hit a home Fenway Park, walk-off grand slam.
Yep.
And he's a kid whose dad grew up in the north end of Boston. He grew up in Connecticut, but he did, and we'll talk about it, he had more of a Red Sox than a Yankee household, even though he grew up in Connecticut. And we're going to talk a lot about his career. And he was there in the steroid era. I mean, we could have a 5.5-hour podcast.
Oh, I'm sure.
Maybe we might have to break it up, but he grew up a Red Sox fan. And he hit a walk-off grand slam in Fenway Park.
Think about that. That's what every kid dreams of.
I mean, that's backyard.
Right. It doesn't matter what the score is.
Yeah.
You know, obviously you won the game, but it doesn't matter, you know, what you did in that game other than that.
And he doesn't get asked about it a lot because I know one of his claims to fame is that he hit the first home run at Coors Field after the Rockies expanded. So everyone kind of wants to talk about that or some other things with the Mets and the Phillies.
Stuff,
but you know, he doesn't talk about it. So we're really excited to talk to him and get his also take on the rivalry and what's going on with these two teams and the shortened season. I mean, there's 1,000 things. This notebook is full of questions for Rico Bronya. But I want to close this off for today, John Senecal and Brian Shackman here on Fanbase, a deep dive into the greatest rivalry in sports. If the Yankees can make a run, you love baseball. Like you could put Little League on TV and you'd watch it. That's the kind of baseball fan you are. I'm not quite there, but if they win, does it mean something to you?
I mean, they won. I mean, I'd be more interested in how they win if they win. You know, is it the excitement? How are the games going to be?
If there's a Game 7 type thing,
right? What's it going to be? In the grand scheme of things, I think no matter who wins, it's not going to be looked upon the same. But you know, their chances if they get in, there's good teams, man. You know, the Dodgers are good. The Padres are really good. The White Sox are really good. The Twins are really good. I mean, the Braves are good. I mean, any number of these 16 teams that get in, I would say 5 to 7 of them have a legit shot that they could win the chip.
You know, we didn't know that Padres were going to be this fun when we talked to Bobby Dickerson.
They doubled down, man. They just went all in.
I wonder if we could get him back to talk about what's going on because I want to talk about Fernando Tatis Jr., what kind of guy he is, just because he's the most exciting player in all of baseball.
He is. Everything. He's signing deals left and right, and everybody talks about him. That's what they want. And they dogged on him for hitting that grand slam, and then someone else just did it the other night.
Yeah, I mean,
who cares?
Now, just quick story before you say goodbye, because I was working at ESPN. I'm pretty sure his dad hit 2 grand slams in a game.
Yes.
And I was working that night in the newsroom at ESPN, and the place was electric. Because, you know, the ESPN has these pods, and so there'd be talent, producer, and they would just be talking the whole time about leads and this and that and the other thing. And every show's got a pod. And Baseball Tonight, I was a scrub. I was just
a gopher.
I worked for ESPN.com, and I was there in case news broke. I helped get the information to the web people, and that's all I did. And I just sat there all night and just watched. I mean, literally, as a 27-year-old kid,
best job in the world.
Then ESPN was everything. And when he hit that second grand slam, I'll never forget it. Just everyone was going bananas. But the fact that his son, I mean, so this was it must have been in 1999 or 2000.
Probably,
yeah, something like that. And so the fact that his son is now in the bigs just kind of makes me feel old, but also blows me away.
It's crazy. And he's really good. It'd be awesome. I'll try to get Bobby back on. We'll see. We might have to wait till after the season.
Yeah, he's probably a little busy right now.
Yeah, might have to after
but
the season.
We're happy for him though, because this might lead him to get his manager job.
Yeah, and front row seat too. I mean, even if you don't win, I mean, you're going to the playoffs. I think they're a 4 seed right now, and this seeding is all weird based on how you're finishing in the division and all that.
Right.
So, but yeah, what a great front row seat to be at.
So listen, if you want to go back, a couple episodes ago, we talked to the bench coach for the San Diego Padres, Bobby Dickerson, who's an old friend of John's.
2 episodes we did.
And they were probably the best episodes we did in terms of his philosophy on hitting, on baseball, and the approach to COVID. Some of his comments on COVID are a little dated, obviously, but it is just worthy of your time.
Yep. But our time has ended for this episode. Catch us wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll see you at the next one.